We stopped down here at the Percy Priest Dam so that you can take a look at the trail race, or the tail race, that comes off of this dam. And what you're looking at on the right is the generators. That's where the generation water comes out, and what you're looking there, that's a spillway. So when the lake gets high, they open the spillway gates up, but the question is, and what the talk is really about, is when they're generating. And so when they generate, there's a mass amount of water that comes out of there, and it's moving pretty good, and it does get, rise pretty quick. And so we wanted to stop here so that you can take a peek at it here on Priest Dam, because there's a number of dams that they're going to do this to, and this is one of them, and they don't like the fishermen down here, and that's basically about the size of it. They say that it's too dangerous, and they claim that a lot of fishermen have lost their lives, which apparently doesn't seem to be very truthful. So, but that's their excuse. I mean, that's the way they are. They feel that it's their domain. They told me one time that because I turned around and told them that nobody owned the water, and they said, yeah, but we own the ground underneath it, so you have to follow our rules, or else, basically. And so they've been pretty hard-nosed over the years. They surely have, and I'm not going to go and just have a roast with them or anything like that. But so Representative Alexander is getting ready to speak, and we're going to see what he has to say.
These physical barriers. That's the other problem with this plan. We're in a budget crunch. We're supposed to be out of money in Washington, and I'd like to know where the $2.6 million is coming from that ought to be used for recreation facilities and other core projects to put these physical barriers up. So I think it's unreasonable, unnecessary, and a waste of money to go forward with this plan. Now, the better way to resolve this would be for TWRA and others in the area to work with the Corps, and the Corps people are good people. They say they're just following a policy they've had, but there are 17 or 18 former colonels, people who've commanded the area, who've allowed this fishing before, and there ought to be a way to come up with a compromise that permits it. So I'm here today to say that if the Corps says it requires legislation, well, I've got legislation, and I'm going to try to pass it if that's what it takes. Now, I want to thank Congressman Whitfield from Kentucky. He's been a real leader in this. So have the county judges up in Kentucky. Congressman Cooper came to the meeting that Congressman Whitfield and I had with the general. I met with the colonel. I met with the general. If necessary, I'll meet with the Assistant Secretary of the Army. This is a policy they have. It's not a rule, it's a policy. They ought to be able to make a reasonable adjustment to it. We're talking about some of the best fishing waters anywhere. We're talking about jobs in the area, and we're talking about taxpayer money that doesn't need to be wasted. Now, I'd like to give you a chance to hear from Ed Carter, who's the executive director from the Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency.
Thank you, Senator. Let me say publicly thank you for all you've done, both behind the scenes and as you see here this morning. And we really appreciate that effort everywhere that we've been and everyone we've talked with. Since 1965, our agency has been the sole state agency that's charged with boating safety in the state of Tennessee. And we've always been the agency that's responsible for the fisheries and the fishing recreation. It's important both recreationally and it's important economically, and we want to make sure that both of those are addressed. Our message to the Corps is we believe that there are other methods, other alternatives that aren't being explored at this time that will lead both to boating safety and also the recreation of the absolute finest in this part of the state and anywhere else in the southeast. We want to make sure that both of those
I'm hiding, I'm a five rappers in my city, mad friend, wishing I retired. Cause it's the movement. I told y'all, Jones and Jesse.
That'll be $15.50 for the pizza. You got any gold?
These days, seems like everybody is trying to buy your gold.
Hey lady, I'll give you 20 bucks for those earrings.
But not everyone will pay you top dollar. At Lebanon Jewelry at Queen Exchange, 612 South Cumberland, we're always buying gold, $29.75 South Rutherford Boulevard in Murfreesboro. We have been buying jewelry, coins, sterling silver, even broken jewelry for over 20 years. We will weigh your items right in front of you and pay you top dollar in cash. So bring your gold to one of these two locations. Why take your chances
Some 250
anywhere else? years ago, our Supreme
Are you
Court
having a
ruled
hard time
that
seeing,
fish and wildlife
climbing
in this
stairs,
country
keeping
are
up with
owned
your
by the
children or
people of
grandchildren?
this country.
How's your memory? Are you eating
And this
right?
simple but
Do your
profound
supplements
decision
work?
is the
How do you
underpinning
know?
behind
Our
everything
biophotonic
that makes
scanner
our
will
model for
show you
wildlife
your
management the best
antioxidant
in the
levels.
world,
Call
and
today
why
for a
we
scan.
have to have
Mention this
access
ad
to
and
our
it's free,
resources,
no
these
obligation.
waters and these fish.
615-598-4675.
Generations of you guys here today. The City
Your
Cafe
sons,
East is the
your
best kept
fathers
lunch
have
secret in
fished these
Nashville.
waters,
If
and
you're
they've
starving
proven
and want real
this
home
is a
cooked
safe
food,
pastime.
this is the place.
When we
Folks,
use
this
common
is the best
sense
meat and three in
and we wear our
Nashville.
life
Chef
jackets,
George prepares
it's a safe
mouth-watering
pastime,
specials every day.
and it'll continue
Choose from
to be a
baked
safe
chicken,
pastime.
pork chops, turkey
But
and dressing,
unfortunately,
and of
we're
course
faced
the
with
best
this
roast
proposal
beef
to close off
anywhere.
these
The City
waters.
Cafe East, the best
Some
meat
will
and three in
say,
town,
what's
is
all this
open
fuss
Monday
to
through
do
Friday,
about
10 to
fishing?
2:30 for your
It's just a
convenience.
little
City Cafe
1,000
East,
feet here,
1455
500
Lebanon
feet there.
Pike and Spence Lane.
What I say
the
to
way
you today
cooking
is,
should be.
ask them what's more important than fishing with your son or your daughter, with your father or your mom, or with a good friend. What's more important than supporting the jobs in the Middle Tennessee area that are supported by this activity? And lastly, what's more important than celebrating this small remaining example of self-reliance that we enjoy today when we get to go fish? The Corps is saying this is about safety. We understand that. We appreciate that. We value human life and safety below these dams. I think the senator pointed out very well, we have 18 previous district commanders and several different division commanders that have not seen fit to make a change since the 1970s. And the reason that they didn't make that change is because the change is unnecessary and, in our opinion, extreme in policy. So the thing that concerns us, maybe the greatest, is it's also a process that did not allow for meaningful public input. But thankfully, we live in a country that allows us to have a voice. And thankfully, we have a senator that is willing to stand up in the gap, propose legislation to fix this challenge. And as we close, let me reemphasize one point. I think it's very important that we do our part as anglers, that we practice common sense when we're below the dams, and that we all wear the life jackets that we're supposed to wear and follow the law as it's written. Because what we have shown, the statistics are on our side, ladies and gentlemen. When we wear our life jackets and we implement common sense approaches, it's safe. And so roughly 1 million Tennesseans fish in this state every year. And I would ask, now it's our time as outdoorsmen and citizens to stand behind the senator and support his efforts to make sure that we keep these waters open. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed, Mike. I'm glad to be here today. I'm glad to stand up for the people of Tennessee and for the 1 million who have fishing licenses in Tennessee. This is an important right. And I think the Corps says, well, we need legislation. Well, I've got legislation. We'll try to pass legislation. But a better result would be to listen to what the Wildlife Resources Agency says. They're saying, look, we believe in safety. We'll help you enforce the safety laws. We'll come, safety practices, and we'll come to some reasonable solution. And I think it is reasonable. I'll conclude with this. This is a lot like the railroad crossing. If the water's only coming through the dam 20% of the time, that means 80% of the time it ought to be safe. It ought to be safe for fishing. And you don't keep the railroad gate down over the railroad crossing 100% of the time. You keep it down when the train's coming down the track. We can have the warning signs. We can police the area. We can close the parking lots during the time when the water's coming through the dams and still leave the tailwaters open for fishing 80% of the time. And the state agencies, both in Tennessee and Kentucky, have said to the Corps of Engineers, we'll work with you to try to encourage boating safety and to help you enforce those rules. That's a reasonable proposal, and I'm going to continue to encourage the Corps of Engineers to do that. I've asked for an appointment. I met with the colonel. I've met with the general. Now I've asked for an appointment with the Assistant Secretary of the Army. And if that doesn't work, then the legislation will, I'll do my best to see that we pass legislation and we get a delay in this until we get a result. Thank you for coming this morning. Thanks to Ed and Mike.
Well, Richard, it's time for our Constitution. And thank you to the court that we went to, that we realized that people really needed to know their rights so they wouldn't be led astray in different directions that, you know.
Right, because we do believe that our rights come from God, not from man.
That's right, they do.
The Constitution protects that.
So we are going to...
Greetings, everyone. This is the first video in a series to make you aware of things that the powers that be will never disclose. We hope you will find this information helpful as we attempt to achieve our true constitutional republic. We also welcome any and all public employees, officers, and elected officials to this program in hopes they too will learn and understand the importance of the information as presented herein. This information is not to be construed as legal advice, but to be used as a guide to supplement your own research. This first video is only an overview of future topics. In 1867, 2 years after Civil War, the U.S. military, through a military coup, took over all state governors' offices. They continued to infiltrate all cities and counties. The proof can be seen today. At every county courthouse, an American flag is displayed outside. Yet go inside any courthouse office or courtroom, and you will see a gold-fringed flag displayed. A gold-fringed flag is a military flag, and anywhere it is displayed, the military is present. If you watch television programs, you will begin to notice each time a U.S. flag is in a scene, chances are it has a gold fringe. This is not by chance, as they want you to get used to seeing this flag without question. The law this flag represents is admiralty, law of the high seas, military tribunals. Also, during this time of 1867 to 1890, they created the corporation known as the United States. The 14th Amendment to the Constitution was enacted at this time. The day after the 14th Amendment was enacted, Thanksgiving was declared a holiday. That was for all us, that's U.S. turkeys. Birth certificates began to be issued. The birth certificates required the father's name, the footprint of the newborn, who had no say in the matter, the mother's maiden name, and all her information, proving the mother was unwed at the time of the birth, creating a bastard child, whose rights and property were immediately transferred to the state through the signatures of the mother and the attending physician, because 2 signatures equal a contract. The birth certificate is a negotiable instrument, as per the Uniform Commercial Code. It is also a traded security on the New York Stock Exchange as a mutual fund, which, by the way, it was recently sold to a German company. There is also reference to the birth certificate in the U.S. Code under the military. The birth certificate also creates a paper citizen, a straw man, with an all capital letter name. See your electric bill, driver's license, social security card, car titles, registration, credit cards, and statements, and anything else that comes from a corporation. The name sounds the same, but it is not a living man or woman. It should be noted that the powers that be will never refer to you as a man or woman, only an individual, a U.S. citizen or person, taxpayer, doctor, worker, contractor, etc., etc. In fact, the only reference I can find in the U.S. Code concerning man or woman is in Title I, Chapter 1, Sections 1 through 8 of the United States Code regarding marriage.
That'll be $15.50 for the pizza. You got any gold?
These days, seems like everybody is trying to buy your gold.
Hey lady, I'll give you 20 bucks for those earrings.
But not everyone will pay you top dollar. At Lebanon Jewelry and Coin Exchange, 612 South Cumberland, or always buying gold, 2975 South Rutherford Boulevard in Murfreesboro. We have been buying jewelry, coins, sterling silver, even broken jewelry for over 20 years. We will weigh your items right in front of you and pay you top dollar in cash. So bring your gold to one of these 2 locations. Why take your chances anywhere else? Let's face it, the economy is terrible. Here's a chance to make an extra $1,400 a month. Who couldn't use that?
It's the movement. I'm a Lino Dr. I. It's the movement. I'm a Lino Dr. I. It's the movement. I'm a Lino Dr. I. I'm hot and I'm on fire. I'm a Lino Dr. I. I'm hot and I'm on fire. I'm a Lino Dr. I. I'm hot and I'm on fire. I'm a Lino Dr. I. I'm hot and I'm on fire. Rappers in my city mad praying, wishing I retired. Cause it's the movement. I told y'all, Jonesy, Jersey.
Hi, this is Jerry Kramer, and I am with the CMG Radio Club. We are bringing a great music festival extravaganza to Lebanon, April 27th and 28th, the whole weekend, a fun-filled family weekend. And there's 44 acts, 9 artists, and we'd like to invite you to come out. The details you can find at childrensteddybearfoundation.com. You can buy your tickets there too.
On June 5, 1933, House Joint Resolution 192 removed silver and gold from circulation, thereby abrogating the U.S. Constitution clause of no state shall make anything legal tender as a payment of debts except gold and silver coin. At the time of birth, silver nitrate is placed into the eyes of the newborn. The reason for this, number one, newborns may have contracted a disease leaving and passing through the birth canal. This is controlled by the Center of Disease Control, a military organization. Number two reason, silver is considered money. Once introduced into the newborn infant, it contains monetary substance, giving the birth certificate a level of security for the U.S. On the Bureau of the Public Debt website, search for government security. The number one answer is the physical corpus, the living. When a country does not have gold or silver as the means of currency, there is no law, no government, no constitution. In order for the de facto government to control its citizens, they create codes and statutes. However, only employees, officers, and elected officials are under corporate statutes. This is why they create driver's licenses and ID cards. Government-issued employee ID. See Title I, United States Code, Chapter 1, Sections 1 through 8, for the definitions of individuals, persons, corporations. They're all the same. And anything in Title I, Chapter 1 of the U.S. Code is terms as used in any act of Congress. Title V of the United States Code defines individual as U.S. citizen. U.S. citizen is only defined by the 14th Amendment, nowhere else. Yet every agency requires one to be a U.S. citizen to obtain all their services. And the 14th Amendment states plainly in the U.S. Constitution as any person born or created in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof is a citizen of the United States and the state wherein it resides. Clearly, United States and state being two separate places. U.S. Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, plainly describes where the United States is. It's in the 10-mile district around Washington, D.C., the territories, and anywhere there's a fort or an arsenal. We will continue to bring further topics to you as time goes on, and please remember to be good to your neighbor. Do not turn him in. Get to know your neighbor well. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Colonel Freedom.
Thanks very much.
We'll see you next week.